Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack and Dave here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver you that Twitter reacts. Everybody, we're going to be giving our reactions to Ange Postecoglou's press conference, all the various quotes that are flowing out there, and also as well going to be reacting to Twitter and how they have responded and how they have reacted to Ange Postecoglou's opening press conference as the new manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Everybody, if you do want to get involved in these shows, first of all, please smash that like button if you do even like these shows in the first place. I really do enjoy doing these Twitter reacts, but if you do want to see your tweets and your responses up on screen, everybody, feel free to follow Dave at the IrishY to get involved in these shows. But we're going to start first with Dan Kilpatrick's quote of Postecoglou from the Evening Standard. He says, "I want to bring success to this football club," meaning Postecoglou here. He's saying, "I want to bring success to this football club and put it where it deserves to be. There's enormous challenge here. I love that. That's what attracted me most about taking this role. What a great challenge it was. What a great story if we get it right." Dave, this has kind of been the quote that sort of has been circling around a lot, and it's sort of maybe a quote that we've heard from managers in the past, right, when it comes to what they want to try to deliver at Tottenham Hotspur. Is it any different this time coming from Ange?
Yeah, I think it is a bit different, Jack, to be honest with you, compared to, other managers, especially like a Jose and a Conte. And the reason why is because, they've all sort of spoke about they want to bring success. Well, it's not different in that grad, but where it is different is Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte sort of only mentioned the Enoch sort of years, the 23 years. They never really mentioned about Tottenham being a successful club before that. Whereas Ange Postecoglou says, I want to bring success to this football club, but put it where it deserves to be. And, that shows that he's well aware of the history that's gone before Enoch's sort of tenure. And I think that's what makes it a bit different.
Hmm.
It's just good to hear sort of the club being painted in a good light from the outset, right? Where the club deserves to be. I mean, compared to before, where it's like, well, the history of this club has been 21 years of failure. It's already starting on a negative sort of outlook. So I absolutely love the way he's approached this, Jack. It's refreshing.
He loves a challenge, he says. He loves a rebuild, I believe he says as well. It's actually, I believe he even brought up that that's sort of one of his favorite things is actually going into a rebuild. And he thinks that's sort of his speciality, in fact, is sort of going into sort of a state of disrepair and trying to find some sort of fundamental principles to build around and go from there. And it's exactly what we want to hear as Spurs fans, but also as well, it's nice to hear a manager that is, accepting of the challenge. And in fact, really actually loves the challenge, because we probably do hear that from managers of the past, and we hear that in general, I think, from people, that they like a challenge, that they enjoy the hardship. But I feel like some people might really mean it and some people might not actually. It's just something you might say. And I think with Postecoglou, the amount of times he will mention, how much he, loves the challenge and loves the rebuild, I think that's a good sign for what he can do here. Football Confidential has also kind of given his approval of the Postecoglou quotes on that challenge. And he says, Ange Postecoglou obviously loves being the new Tottenham manager. He doesn't talk as if he's doing Spurs fans a favor, and he clearly relishes the challenge of succeeding where other, maybe more glamourable managers have actually failed. I find this interesting, Dave, because while I sort of see the distinction between how Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte saw the challenge versus how Postecoglou sees it, I feel like, they were all sort of managers that, at the beginning of when they came here, I feel like they did sort of, want to win, and they did want to be that manager to deliver what is inevitably been a long time, of actual success and trophies. And I think they all wanted to be that guy. It's just that perhaps, Postecoglou might be better suited for it, for the fact that maybe he's a little bit less arrogant, a little bit less sort of, you could say maybe, kind of full of themselves, in a way. He has that confidence like Jose and Conte does, but he doesn't maybe have that arrogance. And this is coming from somebody who's saying this that really loves, actually, Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte with that charisma and that sort of arrogance that they bring. But for me, Dave, I think Spurs fans seem to be receiving Postecoglou better, maybe because they don't think that he sees it as, something that he's bigger than, or something that, he can just walk away from.
Well, I think where the difference comes into it, Jack, is how the message comes across. I
Sure.
think realistically they all sort of say similar things, right? But it's how you convey that message. And I think the way I think when Jose and Conte arrived, right, it was sort of conveyed, this club has been failing over the Enoch years, and this is how big the problem is, and this is what I have to do, right?
Mm.
Whereas Ange Postecoglou didn't really do any of that. He just talks about restoring the club back to where it deserves to be. And it's how you convey that message. And I think that's the difference.
Talk Sport as well kind of used some quotes saying, I understand, and this is again Postecoglou speaking, understand that we are going to go down a different road. I will do things my way. Resistance might derail things for a little bit, but not for long, as I won't allow it. Ange Postecoglou sends a very clear message to his Tottenham Hotspur players during his press conference. This is why I think it's good to get the full version, everybody, of that press conference, because you do get to sort of hear these sort of quotes that maybe do get missed. Do you feel like, Dave, maybe some players have received his energy quite well in how he's this kind of intense about things, but he's also a bit distant, as we've heard, from Alistair Gold, and just sort of the way he interacts with players. He's very respectful of them, but he's not like throwing his arm around them, being all buddy-buddy with them either. Could certain players maybe be a bit intimidated by Postecoglou, especially maybe with these quotes?
Yeah, of course they will, Jack. I mean, look, we all know like they've been intimidated by managers before. I actually think what he's referring to
Uh-huh.
is in terms of the training, Jack. If you want me to be brutally honest, down the years, we've heard a lot of contradictions from these players. Training is not intense enough. Training is too tense. We're not working on defense. Now we're working on defense too much, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he's speaking about there is because inevitably managers have suffered that resistance. And I think that's what he's sort of referring to. Okay, they might resist what I want to do for a little while because of how intense it is, how much running it involves. Okay, but grand. It might derail it for a little while, but I think what he's alluding to is those
Mm-hmm.
anarchists amongst the group, they'll be gone.
And maybe speaking of certain players that might not be happy with the training, or maybe players that could be happening with the training, it's sort of like, you read it either way when it comes to Tanguy and Ndombele. These are Postecoglou's quotes on Ndombele when asked about him by Alistair Gold. He said, Tanguy has been good. He's been working hard in training, as they all have, because they've got no choice. I take things as I see them. He was part of a Serie A winning side last season, and he's been working very well. Within that context, though, I'm pleased to have him here and part of the group. What that means for the long term, we'll see. Maybe he won't want to be part of this thing. This is the thing, Dave. I feel like Tanguy Ndombele, he's going to wow everybody with his ability. He's going to wow everybody with his talent and what he can do on the pitch and what he can do with the ball at his feet. But is he going to impress Postecoglou with maybe a change of attitude, with a change of mentality? That's what's going to remain to be seen, because I think he can look good, during these five-a-side trainings, during, these workout sessions and everything. Like, he is going to try to get back into shape. He is going to try to sort of maybe change things, when it comes to his reputation. But at the same time, is he going to really be buying in 100% into this Postecoglou mentality, into these Postecoglou principles? I think that's what remains to be seen. I don't think you can say he hasn't, but of course, that last little line there, if you did want to put on a tinfoil hat, it is a bit of a weird line to kind of have included in there, that maybe he might not actually want to be here in the first place. I'm not saying that is the case, but interesting one, I think, from Postecoglou on Tanguy. Any
I
reaction?
think Yeah, I think the point that people are actually missing when it comes to this, Jack, is especially the point where he says, I take things as I see them. Then that, to me, I think that what over the broader context of the quote, it's sort of like he's forgetting about the history of Tanguy at Tottenham. What happened under Conte? What happened under Jose? What happened under Pochettino? And he's basically wiping the slate clean. And it's whether this guy wants to buy into what he's doing or whether he doesn't. And that's been Tanguy's biggest problem over the last few years.
Mm,
Now, what might be a little bit different this time is the fact that Ange Postecoglou will play an attacking style of football, which means you're not asking Ndombele to do work that he doesn't want to do. And I think that's just basically what he means by it. Look,
okay.
I'm clearing the deck. I'll take what's in front of me and we'll work from there. After that, it's up to Tanguy whether he wants to sort of stick around and prove himself, or whether he's given up and he wants to go.
Mm.
I don't really think there's. I see a lot of sort of different takes on that opinion. I think they're missing the broader concept of his point, to be honest.
Yeah.
But look, last thing on that quickly, he has no choice to work. I mean, that is stiffy material, Jack. That should come with a warning.
You want to hear that when it comes to everybody. You're absolutely right.
Mm.
Las Vegas Spurs says, looks like I got my wish. Big Ange is perfect. I don't and he said this on April 4th. He said, I don't care who our next manager is, as long as he ticks these boxes. First, solid 5-year plan of success for the academy and domestic trophies. He has to be a vocal leader, has to play attacking football, and cares more about the club than himself. And it looks like he's checking a lot of those boxes for Spurs fans right now, Davo.
Mm. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And he's absolutely spot on. It does look like Ange Postecoglou will be here for a few years, providing results go his way. You know, we all know what he's going to do at the academy. I've spoke about many times what he's done with Celtic B team. Speaking about trophies, I mean, every manager does. It's sort of,
Yeah,
you know,
part
I
of
think
it.
the lure of the job that they want to be that one. Leader, plays attacking football, cares more about the club than he does himself. I mean, it does sort of embody Ange, you'd say. He's correct there.
Simon Yemaine, watch the full presser, genius level communicator, doesn't put a foot wrong, always on point, paints a very clear picture of who he is and what he wants. Underrated part of a coach's ability to stay in a job and having success. More certain than ever, he will do great. He's just given the approval there, Simon. Big yourself up, my man. Absolutely love that. And I thought as well, Dave, we sort of, get some responses as well. Looks like, people are really enjoying, the Postacoglu press conference because especially people are feeling like just anything he says is like, a fresh dopamine hit, to the bloodstream. It feels like, just his voice alone is just soothing people. It's just giving them a sense of calm. But also you have people that feel like he's, going to maybe change the meaning of success, as Shari says here. What does success look like? The fans will tell me that. That's what Postacoglu said. And he finds that to be such a fantastic response. I did find that to be a great response because it sort of showed that, he doesn't need to have these preconceived notions of what will be accepted, what will be sort of, like accepted by the fan base. He's just going to do what he thinks he can do, and he's going to do the very best job he can. And at the end of the season, the fans will give the reaction that they think is the right one for what maybe the season was. I appreciate that. It's a very level-headed answer from him.
Well, also you look at the last few years. Tottenham fans got Jose Mourinho sacked. Tottenham fans got Nuno sacked. Conte got himself sacked, but the pressure was there for quite some time. So I think he's well clued in on that, and I think that's why he responds like that. It's sort of Tottenham fans ain't happy; they're going to let you know about it. I think is what he means basically.
Trevor Lloyd says Ange Postecoglou absolutely nailed that presser. Loved pretty much everything he said. Seems incredibly happy and proud to be a Tottenham manager. Let's hope he is the one to break the curse. Come on, you Spurs, big yourself up. Trevor. Sean White says how refreshing to have a Spurs manager with a sense of humor after suffering 4 years of miserably depressing managers. If he can get it right, Ange could be the man we've been waiting for. Interesting take, Sean. This is where I maybe slightly disagree. I feel like, Conte, as well as Jose Mourinho especially, had that sort of sense of humor, and very much I thought were very entertaining managers, especially when angry or being a bit smug or snotty. They were always very funny. But I think what's the big difference between Postecoglou and Jose and Conte is that Postecoglou, I don't think, takes himself as seriously in the manner that they did. They obviously have a bit of an arrogance about them. They have sort of a bit of a weight that they carry of sort of reputation, and the fact that they're kind of seen as these alpha dogs of the managerial world and everything. That's what sort of, comes with their reputation. Whereas Postecoglou doesn't seem to really carry himself, I think, in that type of manner. And also, right, his sense of humor could be seen as slightly different, but I kind of disagree. I actually feel like, I still would, love to see a Jose Mourinho press conference. Call me crazy.
Look, I think where he says, what we've been waiting for, I can
Mm-hmm.
understand it to a certain degree, right? Because with Jose Mourinho and Conte especially, they took themselves that seriously that when things don't go wrong, it sort of manifests and spirals, and throughout their career, it sort of ends up going one way when that sort of starts happening. Whereas Ange Postecoglou can sort of laugh at himself at
Mm-hmm.
times, and when you
Yeah.
look at the players we have, they can't take that seriousness all the time. They need to have a bit of banter. They need to have a bit of light sort of fun, and I think that's maybe where he's coming from with that.
Definitely. Postecoglou on his upcoming chat with Harry Kane. It's not going to be a conversation where we come out with some kind of understanding. I just want to introduce myself, and I want to know what he wants to happen to make this football club successful. Then we'll go out there in the training ground and make it happen.
Oh,
It's probably what Harry wants to hear, to be honest, Dave.
oh. Honestly, Harry's probably making them same sounds as me, Jack. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's exactly what we want to hear. And you know what, Jack? Gwen, I made a Harry Kane video there sort of last week about Harry Kane and Ange Postecoglou. And, I've spoke about, and basically it was that you don't want to, like, why is all the talk about selling Harry Kane? Why can't it be about, providing Harry Kane what he wants? And I alluded to that quotes, direct quotes from actual Harry Kane, not made up ones that you see in the paper over the last sort of this summer. Real quotes from Harry Kane, where he spoke about all he's wanted to do is win trophies at Tottenham Hotspur, and that's all he wants to do is be in a position to be able to get back there. Even these end of season words, Harry Kane spoke about, the Poch here, some of what do you call it? Some of the values and sort of being lost since then and stuff like that. And it's clear where Harry Kane wants to be. And if I'm Harry Kane and I hear that, that we want to be successful and then we'll take to the training pitch to make it happen. I mean, that sounds like our systems go to me, Jacko. If I was Harry Kane, I'd be all over this.
Absolutely. And it didn't take very long for Harry Kane to get brought up in that press conference. Kev Stewart mentioning that here. He says, it's Ange Postecoglou's first press conference as our boss today. How long before some smug, sour-faced excuse for journalists asks him about Kane's future, knowing full well the big Aussie is going to shut him or her down immediately with an answer that tells them absolutely nothing. I completely agree, actually, because it was sort of the case at times, I think, remember under Nuno, when they were asking Nuno about the Harry Kane situation. Like, we all knew that we weren't going to get a real answer. To be fair, Postecoglou, I think, has attempted a real answer without really revealing too much, about Harry Kane's future. So I actually think he sort of towed the line quite well and actually did still deliver an answer that most of us will be kind of satisfied with, but it hasn't exactly cleared up Harry Kane's future at all. But Dave, what would you have guessed? Were you going for maybe third question, fourth question? I think Postecoglou thought it was going to be the sixth question, in fact, that was going to be about Harry Kane, but looks like it was actually the third.
I would have said first, to be honest, or after the hi, how are you, and the pleasantries. I thought that would have been the first subject on, especially because Bayern put in a latest shambolic bid. That's not even enough to get the laces out of his right boot, let alone the whole player. So
definitely. A lot of people are feeling like, Postecoglou might have been coming here because they feel like the winning a trophy at Spurs is a certain kind of pull that's very distinct and is very sort of different from other clubs. And Finn here is saying that the win a trophy at Tottenham pull is absolutely crazy. And then Mikhail followed that up by saying, I've said it before, it's the most attractive job in Europe. Every manager wants to be the one. Do you feel like that's true, Dave, that certain managers, maybe even, when they speak to each other and everything, they know that the Tottenham job is a huge job, but they also know that it comes with many different challenges that you might not get at other football clubs, but you're also still in the major spotlight as well in how you sort of, handle those challenges. Is it an attractive job? Because it seems like, you could be the Messiah. You could be the guy that gets it done. You could be the one that delivers the trophy and you'll be in history forever. Is that an attractive principle, or is that an attractive thing to people?
as a biased Spurs fan, I'd love to think that that's true. And look, I think there is some degree of it that's true. That every manager that comes here, they do always speak about being the one to break that duck, right? So maybe there is some logic to it. But I just love how us Spurs fans can get carried away. I absolutely love it, and how we can turn everything into a positive as well. That's brilliant.
Well, this man's we're gonna add some negativity to that, Dave, just as you mentioned it. Beyond and Beyond says everything Ange says sounds performative to me, like someone who knows they're out of their depth trying to cover it up with big talk, only to be chewing their nails to the bone at night. You will see. Interesting. It looks like all of the sort of confidence and a bit of charisma and swagger that Postecoglou was able to provide today was not convincing this guy. He thinks that maybe it's all a bit of a show and it's all sort of to convince people that he knows what he's doing when in fact he isn't. Dave, what would be your response here? Do you find this, I think it's good to have this, we get to provide, the different perspective. Not everybody's, thrilled with Postecoglou, but what do you make of this?
First of all, I love it. I mean, you look at the guys before tweet and then you look at this. This is what I love about Twitter, how contrasting things can be at times. It's absolutely brilliant. But look, it's not true. This Ange Postecoglou is one of the coolest guys in the room. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not overawed by it or anything like that. He wasn't when he walked into Celtic, and everyone sort of laughed at him, said it was too big for him, this, that, and the other. While everyone else was making noise over here, he was over there working on, producing one of the best Celtic teams in years in my lifetime. So, I mean, look, I understand the take. I can understand where he's coming from, but trust me, Big Ange ain't phased whatsoever.
fellow response as well in a similar context that another 15 managers thought exactly the same thing, mate. And this is sort of where Postecoglou has to make himself different, or he has to think that he's different from the rest, right? And that all the ones before him did, for whatever reason, not succeed in the fact that they were supposed to deliver a trophy to the fan base, one that we've been waiting for a long time, but for whatever reasons, they weren't able to do that. And he's got to make himself, the exception. He's got to find something that maybe they haven't done before, because it feels like a lot of different methods, a lot of different strategies, a lot of different sort of principles have been instilled into this football club to try to deliver trophies, to try to get back to winning ways. But like I said, each one of them have been unsuccessful in their own ways, and it's about how he can do things differently. I don't think he can copy and paste, anything that the previous managers have done, because he's going to have to be his own man. He's going to have to be different.
Absolutely love that. That's quality. I mean, everyone's getting excited by what Ange has to say, and this guy was straight out the bat, shut it down. What we get excited for? Quality.
And speaking of sort of when we were saying how much, the Tottenham job means to people, recently this summer, Dave, because it's sort of, the concert season, right? With all these festivals and everything going on, feels like Spurs, still remain relevant no matter what, situation you may find yourself in. Over at a festival just recently, we were given a bit of love by the crowd. And Dave, what do you make of that? The fact that Spurs could have one of the worst seasons ever, but still be, sung around and still be sort of bantered about. It's like we just stay relevant no matter what happens.
Look, this is one thing that I just want a Big Ange to come here and absolutely eradicate. This crap that goes on. And this is why I sort of, brought this one up to speak about, Jack. And this is because, this is at a festival, Wireless, I'm not sure where it is. I think it's in the UK. And basically, you have Ndombele standing up there. He's thinking they're great. He paid about £20,000 a ticket just to be above everybody else, 20 feet off ground level. Absolute morons. But they're standing there chanting, going, what is it again? Oh, what do we think of Tottenham? And then the crowd come back, and then he's like, thank you. And then the whole lot of them go into, a big chant together about how crap Tottenham is. And it absolutely drives me insane. But you know what? Build it up, because the more it comes, when Big Ange does deliver, I'll be there to absolutely have all them tweets and knock them all the way back as that happens, Jack. And, it just goes to show the magnitude of the job that Ange Postecoglou has when you have the whole of England. And what's sad is you probably have like Cheltenham FC fans, Ultra fans and shit in there singing it as well. I mean, it's disgusting behaviour, to be honest with you. But it just goes to show the magnitude that Ange Postecoglou has to do, because everyone clowns at us, everyone laughs at us. And I just hope that people don't fall for this anymore, because you see even pundits, they say things. Spurs are so underrepresented as one of the big six clubs in the media. And all of a sudden fans grab with it and run with it. And there's no Tottenham pundit or anyone from a Tottenham perspective to ever knock things back. And I just hope that people are starting to realise what I've been saying for a long time is true. People hate Tottenham, they clown on us. And that's why when we become successful, it'll make it even more sweeter.
And as well, I think every Spurs fan, if you're a new Spurs fan, old Spurs fan, at some stage, I think you've had to come quite used to, or, get used to the hate and get used to sort of the hatred that you receive. And you just have to get comfortable with it. And hopefully we can even use that as maybe a bit of a strength for us this season. I know Postecoglou is certainly going to have to get used to it. Just sort of some wrapping up little details, apparently, and this is a really beautiful thing to see. A pair of Spurs legends were signed actually today. We signed World Cup winning duo Ricky Villa and Ozzy Ardiles today in 1978 on July 10th, Dave. And I must be honest, that is one of my favorite kits of all time as well. That is just a gorgeous kit, and two absolute legends for us. And these two actually sort of broke the game as well, with the fact that they were some of the first, I believe, international kind of superstar players to be brought into the Premier League as well, if I'm not mistaken too. So I know this has been the day of Postecoglou, but if we also want to go back into history, just by the way, Ricky Villa, Ozzy Ardiles signed on July 10th this day.
Yeah, there was some of the first sort of foreign exports brought into the Premier League, I believe, at the time, and that's what was so huge about it. Funny enough, actually, we wanted Ozzy Ardiles, but he refused to come without Ricky Villa, and that's how Ricky Villa actually ended up at Tottenham. But picture like that, my dad would be at home, absolutely loving it, because he's a big fan of Ozzy Ardiles and Ricky Villa, so he
Yeah,
was.
as you should
And
be.
he still loves Argentina. He loves Argentinian football to this day because of them too.
As you should be. As you should be, in my opinion. And then last but not least, this one is coming from Billy here, and I think just has to do with the Harry Kane news. I'm going to tweet a picture of Florian Plettenberg's forehead every day until the Kane transfer saga ends, and this is day one, Dave, starting now. So Florian Plettenberg continuing to flirt with the likes of Harry Kane, continuing to flirt with all these various news stories. And if it doesn't actually happen, where Harry Kane doesn't go to Bayern Munich, I'll be honest, how embarrassing for this guy, because he's really almost kind of just throwing himself a bit too much out there with all these stories and everything about Harry Kane. So Billy's on the case. He's going to be sending in the forehead pictures every day until the saga ends.
I know why he's doing it, Jack, because his hairline is atrocious, so he needs to get money to raise for a new hairline. So that's why he's putting all this news out there, so people click on it, so he can raise money for a hair transplant. By the way, I mean, Harry Kane would be disgusted if that's what the competition is over in Germany when he moves there with his head of hair. I mean, he'd be absolutely disgusted. But no, look, it's not going to happen, Jack. I'm telling you now. They tried to strong arm Daniel Levy, and one thing he won't take is being strong armed. So Bayern Munich can kiss their chances goodbye. Unless Real Madrid come calling, we have nothing to sweat about.
Everybody, I think we'll leave it there, though. Please smash that like button on the way out. Leave your comments down below. And also, please welcome Ange POSTECOGLOU once again to Tottenham Hotspur and let us know your thoughts on the press conference. Any quotes that maybe stood out to you. Give us your favorite quote. All that good stuff down below, everybody. Feel free to hit the subscribe if you are new to the channel. And we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs.
In the big Ange we trust.